Transport operators have been giving a 2-week ultimatum to ensure all commercial buses are fitted with speed limiters and safety doors or risk being banned from operating. This move, according to Transport Minister Kweku Ofori-Esiama, has become necessary because of the spate of road crashes and the need to curb them sooner than later. He told the transport operators during an engagement in Accra, it is about time drivers and operators act responsibly to reduce the carnage. Efwa Evans Chenre reports.
Data compiled by the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service has revealed that the total number of commuters killed in road traffic accidents in 2018 recorded a 12.76% jump over the figure for 2017. This means persons killed rose from 2,076 in 2017 to a total of 2,341 in 2018. The number comprises 1,796 males and 544 females. At an engagement with transport operators in Accra, issues such as drink driving, overspeeding and driving tired were some major causes that were identified. Minister of Transport Kweku Ofori-Esiama says some measures such as training drivers and assigning 2 drivers to each bus will go a long way to curb the fatalities on our roads.
We need a number of measures, including what I just said, to at least try to minimize the sort of accident that we occur. Because like I said, statistics shows that 80% of road traffic accidents in this country is due to indiscipline on the part of road users. Like I said, if you are talking about road users, not only the drivers, even the passengers inclusive, including those who cross the pedestrians. So if statistics are shown that 80% are due to indiscipline on our part, then let's deal with the drivers. We believe that most drivers, apart from unnecessary overtaking and overspeeding that they do, like somebody can drive from here to Tamale without resting. It's a recipe for accident. So we believe it is part of the airline that if you drive above 4 hours, you must rest. And we are going to enforce that aspect of the law. We need to enforce that aspect, including other measures that we are bringing. We are going to train them, and if possible, we put one inspector from National Road Safety in the bus. That's why we are going to sit down. We want to sit down with the operators and look at these measures.
He added that all drinking bars along major roads must desist from selling alcoholic beverages to drivers during their road trips.
The ministry, together with the police, will enforce certain laws. And one of the things that we have identified is alcohol being sold at the various transport terminals. So once again, we are looking at our law. We are looking about who is supposed to see that they don't sell those alcohols on those roads. Enforcing road safety does not reside only on the Ministry of Transport. It's an integrated program. We need to look at the police. AMA must come in. The local government must come in. So we are going to come out with a lot of measures, including the sales of alcohol on our various bus terminals.
The ministry presented the Ghana Police Service with reflectors and some other items to assist them carry out their duties effectively.
Well, joining me in studio right now is Cecil Gabra. He's a transport consultant with Top Tech Consult. Thank you very much for making time to join us. Now, we've heard what the Transport Ministry is setting out to do. First of all, they're beginning with these engagements with the drivers. Is this the way to go? Or are we on the right path to get to curb these road crashes?
Yes, very, very well. In fact, I'm really pleased with what I've just heard. Especially with the speed limiters, because if you look at the LI 280 regulation 135, it states it so clearly. And I'm asking myself, if this were done a long time ago, I'm sure we'll have saved a lot of lives and properties. Right? Speed limiters, if you give me an opportunity, I can explain it to you. It's just as simple. You accelerate, it's fixed under the accelerator. It is calibrated. So if you accelerate more than necessary, whatever it is, what the drivers will say, I'm accelerating to carpet. Whatever it is, you change to fourth and fifth.
It's not going to hit the carpet. It's not going to.
It will hit the carpet, but your speedometer reading will read 80 kilometers per hour, which is for is the speed limit for the highway if you're traveling. And then for those big buses and high tonnage vehicles, that is 75. So it's a perfect thing. This is what we've been crying for. It's a law which should have been done a long time ago. But the best thing is to engage other stakeholders like the drivers. People must understand it. And like this calibration, if it is tampered with, it will be seen. Okay, and I'm just praying that we go much more electronic, like the PDS sort of meters. If you touch it, they'll see it from their office. It's time that we need to go with the advantages that we have in terms of computerization.
So great. This looks like another beautiful law that, if implemented well, it's going to help the situation. But our problem has always been implementation. Is it possible that we can actually effectively implement this?
Well, I think with time, I mean, when it starts from now and we give ourselves some few years, we'll get there. And what are we looking at? We want to reduce road crashes, that's the carnage on our roads, to a minimum figure of, let's say, 1 a day. At the moment, we have about 7, and that's even official.
7 deaths a day?
Yes, 7 deaths. And I believe it's even more than that. We have about 2,000 deaths for the whole year, almost about 20,000 road crashes, and it includes motorcyclists, pedestrians, and so on. Right, that is our aim. Our aim is to reduce road crashes.
The last time we had a conversation with you, you indicated that if a vehicle is driving at 60 kilometers per hour and it crashes, it's not likely to lead to deaths.
Precisely so, okay, all right.
Which I find very hard to believe, though.
Yes, at 60 kilometers, we have in driving what we call the stopping distances, thinking distances, braking distances, okay, which means that before you even stop, right, your brains will tell you go on the brake. So that will reduce the speed before you hit. If you are hitting in the course of an accident, if your foot is on the brake at 60 kilometers, right, it touches the human being or hits the person, right, the chances of the person going to lose a life is very low, minimal, than any speed above 60 kilometers per hour. And that is where the airbag has also been designed, that at a speed of about 60 kilometers, 70 kilometers, the airbag through the sensors must come out to protect you, the driver.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Stizogara will end the conversation here, but I'm sure we'll continue the conversation another time. But moving on to other stories this evening, 9 legal practitioners on Friday managed to get a wager circuit court to grant bail to their driver and his assistant accused of assaulting a police officer. The two captured in the viral video fighting a police officer and have since been charged with various counts of assault. Their lead counsel, Martin Pebu, told the court the two had been brutalized whilst in police custody, further validating their case for bail. There is more in the following report.
At the last court hearing, the two individuals had looked unhappy as they could be heard saying they had done no wrong. They were to spend about 2 weeks in remand till the case is recalled on April 1. But their lawyers will be forced to make an application for bail after they visited their clients at a BNI facility and were told they had been assaulted. The 9-member legal team led by Martin Pebu on Thursday asked that they be granted bail because they required medical attention. Mr. Pebu said the CID Director General had been forced to intervene, causing their removal from the CID headquarters to a BNI facility. There was no representation from the AG's office or police service, despite lawyers insisting they had been served. The court granted the two bail to the tune of 10,000 cedis each with 2 sureties. Mother of the driver, Mary Butcher, insists her son is innocent.
My son hates trouble. He's very quiet. He always advised me to be cautious. I can say to the glory of God, many people can testify to his good conduct.
The GPRT is also excited the two have been granted bail.
Happy. You can see what happens at the court. We have as many as 9 lawyers defending our driver. He's not a GPRT member, but he's a driver. And we are all professional drivers. We felt it is necessary because there are so many questions we have to ask. The incident which involves that driver and the police officer. The police officer was officially stationed there. What happens? And what prompted the fighting? So many issues. You see, so honestly, I must say, I'm very happy we have secured the needed points which has qualified us to the next World Cup. They have been put on bail to have very good medical care before Monday on the 1st, if inshallah, if God permits, we shall be here to make sure we continue with the journey.
Proceedings will resume on April 1.
The minority in Parliament has described as needless the government's plan to introduce a law to ban vigilante groups. President Akufo-Addo tasked the Attorney General to draft the legislation following the violence that marred the Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election earlier this year. Majority Leader and Minister for Parliamentary Affairs Oseche Mensah-Bonsu announced on the floor on Friday the bill should be in Parliament next week for deliberations.
Honorable Amabua is suggesting to us that we should determine what is achievable and what is not achievable. Speaker, I related to my colleagues at the Business Committee the anticipations, some two very important bills that may come this week. One depends on what collaboration amongst the political parties that may yield. That is in respect of the political vigilantism. If it should come, and I know the Attorney General has started working on that, if it should come, we will be required to sit on it and bring the matter to a closure. It's one of the issues that may require our adjourning on the 12th of April. I think another matter relates to duties and exemptions. People have been complaining, especially those of them who are importers. And I know that, again, the bill is being fashioned out.
But Minority spokesperson on Constitutional and Legal Affairs, Yusuf Hussaini, says the president should rather have allowed the political parties to deal with the issue.
The president had given political parties the opportunity to sit together to resolve the matter. The political parties are making progress. As at the last time I checked, they had engaged the Peace Council to mediate. And so one is entitled to assume that we're making progress on that front. And out of the blue, we are being told that the president is also going to sponsor or propose a legislation to deal with it. So it was the proposal of the president when he appeared to give his State of the Nation address was an either-or. Either political parties sit down to resolve the matter, or I. And today, so again, it belies of the level of dishonesty, lack of transparency, and lack of commitment to the whole exercise of this banning vigilante groups. So, for me, I'm surprised that the president is taking that course. The police have said that vigilantism is a threat to our democracy. But why they are unable to fight vigilantism is that they have not been given a free hand. All it needed for the president to do was to give the police a free hand. Needless is totally without foundation. It cannot solve the problem of vigilantism. I mean, there are laws prohibiting people from coming together for the purposes of sectors. There are already laws. But they treat the laws with impunity. It appears that they are building consensus on how to go about it. And it's important that we involve civil society organizations. And what a good body to choose, the Peace Council, so that everybody knows exactly how we are progressing on this matter. But laws, there are laws, and so far as there are already laws on our statute books that have been ignored with impunity, there is no guarantee that if we bring another law, that law will not be ignored with impunity.
Well, saying in Parliament, the majority has dismissed calls by the minority for the removal of the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Education, Professor Aful Bruni. The minority in a statement claimed that Vice-Chancellor has lost the moral right to continue managing the institution following the recent impasse. Ranking member on the Education Committee, Peter Nochu, had earlier called on the Vice-Chancellor to resign voluntarily.
Yeah, to a large extent, I agree, because there was even a problem with the appointment of the Vice-Chancellor to begin with, because according to the statutes of the university, there should be a search for a Vice-Chancellor based on certain conditions. But this was not followed. He was just handpicked. by the council that you were the acting vice-chancellor, so we appoint you as the chancellor. I don't think they did a very good background search before appointing him, because he was one of the problems for the previous vice-chancellor. So if you want to put him there, you should know that the other vice-chancellor, the previous one, had followers, and he will also have followers. So there will be clashes between these two factions on campus. Yeah, some of us advised at the time that for peace to prevail at the university, they should look for somebody outside the University of Education family, that is the campus, the university itself. So when you bring somebody from outside to take up the appointment, he will have that moral courage to unite all the functions on campus. But our advice was not heeded, and I'm sure it's one of the reasons why we are here today.
Okay, so then going forward, what will be your recommendation? How should government manage this?
Yeah, you see, the power play at the university leading to the removal of Professor Avoke, and then now the current vice-chancellor, is very, very serious. The political influence should be divorced from the administration of the university.
But MPP MP for Jamang South and Chairman of Parliament's Education Committee, Siaka Stevens, say the call for resignation is premature. He says the committee has invited the Vice-Chancellor for a meeting to help resolve the issue.
You know, the thing is escalating from one school to the other. Tech recently had, yes, it wasn't palatable at all. And then we don't know which school next. So there's a need to put things in place. And we shouldn't politicize anything. We don't want that. If that happens, it will distort the whole action Parliament wants to take.
There's been calls from the minority for the resignation of the Vice-Chancellor. The Deputy Ranking issued a statement, made that point. Your reaction to that will be?
No, if my ranking is saying so, the Deputy Ranking is saying so, what are his facts? You don't stand afar and then look at issues and conclusion. If you draw conclusion, then the essence of meeting them, then it's missing. Why should we meet them? If you conclude like that, the other side might think you've taken sides. So we listen to UTAC, all right. The way they presented their issues, well, it's fine. We've noted some of them down. And then I know the Vice-Chancellor will also come with a side of the story. Every coin has two sides. We don't look at one side and conclude.
So if I get you, fundamentally, you disagree with the cause for the resignation of the Vice-Chancellor? That's coming from the minority.
It is too premature for now because we haven't dealt into the circumstances leading to all these things. Some of them will rely on hearsay, some will read some Facebook and other things. And these are not authentic stories to inform an institution like Parliament. No. We are lawmakers and you have to take time.
And the minority in Parliament says the National Health Insurance Scheme is collapsing as a result of mismanagement by government. The House today approved the allocation of 2.5 billion Ghana cedis for the NHIA for the year 2019. The minority is questioning why about 300 million cedis of the amount is being invested in ICT infrastructure, insisting it's wasteful expenditure. Ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee, Kwabena Minta Akando, says despite increased investments in compensation, the number of subscribers on the scheme is reducing.
If you look at the budget or the formula that has been presented to us, we are using around 60% to pay service providers. And the scheme is actually struggling. It's struggling. Quite apart from that, you see, we are looking at the National Health Insurance Scheme or the fund as if it is the only fund that is available to fund the health sector. But that is not so. In fact, international practice and per the Abuja Declaration, we are supposed to use not less than 15% of the annual budget in the health sector. And we are quiet. Nobody is talking about it. We members of Parliament are not talking about it. Media, we are not talking about it. But the health sector is very, very sensitive. If we have that money, we will not be using the National Health Insurance Scheme money to be buying anti-snake Sarah, and we'll be using National Health Insurance money to be paying nursing trainees allowances. We are using National Health Insurance money to pay corporate social responsibilities. The kind of things that they are using the money for. In fact, we must all come together and then object strongly against those things. Okay? If you look at the formula, they are telling us that they are going to use 10 million Ghana cedis to do restructuring. What restructuring? After budgeting, in fact, if you look at the formula, they are pumping not less than 300 million Ghana cedis on ICT. Is it because of ICT they established the scheme, or the ICT is supposed to help the smooth running of the scheme? Whilst they are not getting money to pay claims or service providers, we are getting money to do things in the ICT sector.
We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime, but still ahead, driver and may charged with assault of a police officer granted bail. That story we have taken already, but there's an Uber driver who is in custody for allegedly stabbing a passenger in an argument over fares.
Tried dodging the knife, then I blocked with my arm, and he stabbed my arm right now. So we are very deep cut.
Stay tuned, we're back in a bit. Now, Energy Minister John Peter Amewu has warned against attacks on staff of PDS by aggrieved Ghanaians who feel dissatisfied with the current power situation in the country. The minister, who described the attack as nonsense, said such acts will not go unpunished, vowing to hand down the person who attacked the PDS staff at Kukrobite and hand him over to the police for prosecution. The community has been without electricity for about 2 weeks, as the company says it cannot guarantee the safety of its staff, who will be required to go and restore power. But the company has since restored power to the community. Mr. Amewu issued the warning when the overlord of Kukrobite and elders of the community visited him in his office to apologize for the attack.
This gentleman that has been slashed with cutlass, he's gone there with a noble mind, very good intention to make sure that power is restored to the community. And then he ended up being attacked by the same community that is expected to provide these services. So I think it's quite unfortunate. The law agencies are taking this issue very seriously. And of course, the gentleman who is behind this act will not be spared, because this should serve as a warning to all citizens of this country that they do not treat people in that manner. It's unfair. And I'm extremely, I'm not fine when I heard the incident. I mean, it baffles me how we should begin to do this into our own self. So, Nana, I want to say a very big thanks for using your limited time, to call on me to explain the details of this incident. As a chief within your society, you are expected to exercise some kind of control within the people that you govern. And I think that you should warn your people that we don't expect to see such things any longer. Because unfortunately, when things happen like this, it is the chief, the assemblyman, the opinion leaders like Doctor and all the other people that people are looking up to. And the people who are the perpetrators, nobody see them here. They are not here with us today. And you have to be wasting your own time here. So we are prepared to serve you. We are prepared to work with you, especially this government. But we will also not tolerate this sort of nonsense in our society. It's uncalled for, and we will not tolerate it.
Now, wounds may have healed since the devastating June 3 disaster, which unfortunately killed hundreds. But many residents of Odona are yet to recover from the emotional trauma. After the incident, government promised a proper drainage system. Construction of the drains started, but the project has since been abandoned. This has blocked some drains linking the Odo stream. Our photojournalist David Ando warns a heavy rainfall could be a recipe for another disaster. We bring you a picture story.
I won't go bomb for the river. I won't hold my head up for the river. But you know they anymore for the river. It's full of baller, it tends to gutter. I say I won't go bomb for the river. I won't hold my head up for the river. But you know they anymore for the river. It's full of baller. They kite the way they swim. River Bra, River Odo, River Volte.
Right, before Ms. G comes in to bring us, joins me to bring us the Wolome Founders Tribute, police is investigating a brawl between an Uber driver and a passenger which left the passenger with a deep wound on his hand. According to the passenger, Daniel Esiama, it started as a disagreement over the fare charged by the driver, who he had asked to bring him some documents. The driver is in police custody. Joy News' Henry Kwesibadu filed this report.
In broad daylight at Laboni here in Accra, an Uber driver and his passenger haggled over the cost of transportation. The passenger said he will pay 25 cedis, but the driver insisted the cost of a ride was 42 cedis. The end result? A deep cut sustained by the passenger.
I said, I'm ever ready. I'm ever ready to testify.
The passenger, Daniel Isiama, claimed the driver slapped him.
So you check the fare, and you check the fare, and the fare was 42 cedis. So I questioned him that, no, it's not 42 cedis, because the initial fare Uber gave to us was 25 cedis. So I can't pay 42 cedis. So he said, no, he's going to take my documents that he brought back to the one who sent, the sender, the one who sent the document. And I told you, the person that you are going, he's not even there at the moment, he has left. So why are you taking the document to? And he said, no, then he will keep the document. I said, no, you can't keep my document, they are my car documents. I'm going somewhere, so take this money and leave and report, and Uber will solve your issue for you. And he said, no. So he tried snatching my documents for me. So when he snatched it, I said, oh no, those are my car documents. You can't take them. And he snatched it, and he was going into his car. So I rushed to snatch my document. I wanted to pick my document back. Then he started struggling with me, you understand? So in the course of struggling, he reached into his car and picked out a very big kitchen knife. So he threatened he would stab me with a kitchen knife. And I said, no, you can't keep my documents until you try to stab me, and I'll just look at you and you drive away. No. So I told him, no, I don't care if he even stabs me or something. He should give me my documents. So when I tried going for the documents, he sat in the car. So when he sat in the car, I said, no, I will not allow you to leave the car with my documents. Then he swung the knife at me. So he wanted to stab my side. So I quickly dodged. I tried dodging the knife. Then I blocked with my arm, and he stabbed my arm right now. So a very deep cut. So I was bleeding profusely, but I still didn't want to let him go because he wanted to drive away after what he had done. I said, no, I will not allow you. So I was still holding the knife with him in the car, struggling with him in the car. And then he wanted to start the car. Meanwhile, I was standing outside and he was inside. So when he starts the car, he reversed, then he'll hit my leg or something, or break my leg or something, and leave me and drive away. I said, no, no, no. So I struggling with him, and I was able to overpower him and take his car key. So there were bystanders and onlookers around. So I took the car key and I threw it to one of them. And I told them that they should hold the car key whilst I hold him and bring him out. So when they took the car key, my phones and my documents, they were all in his car, with blood all over him, all over his seats, passenger seat and things. And I rushed to the hospital to get my wound tested.
Maria Kable is a nurse of a private hospital which treated the victim just few meters away from the scene of the incident.
Actually, when he came in, he was bleeding badly. He had blood all over his shirt and all that. But looking at the wound, it needed to be sutured. So the police came in, so we had to arrest the bleeding and then for him to be taken to the police station for his statement, and then he comes back for suturing.
Civil Society Group Odikro has called for the review of Article 78, which empowers the President to appoint Ministers of State from Parliament. According to the group, this will help curb the phenomenon of absenteeism among MPs. Research Director Ernest Ama made the call at a one-day seminar on strengthening transparency and social inclusion in Ghana, organized by the Parliamentary Network Africa in collaboration with the Westminster Foundation. Philip Ankra filed this report.
The seminar was held to help Parliament develop action plan that will make the legislative institution more transparent and responsive. It brought together some civil society groups and media personnel. Ernest Ama believes these political appointments give room for the legislative roles of parliamentarians to be overshadowed by their political roles.
The way forward, I think we'll need some short-term, medium-term, and long-term measures. In the short term, we'll have to strengthen the internal systems and procedures of Parliament to check parliamentary absenteeism. In the medium term, citizens can consider writing to the Speaker of Parliament and then the Chair of the Privileges Committee to take action against chronically absentee MPs. And the long-term solution will be that we have to consider amending Article 78 so that there is a clear separation of powers between the presidency and then the legislature, so that Parliament will be able to perform its roles of scrutiny and executive oversight effectively.
On her part, the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, Beauty Nate, lauded Parliament for passing the Right to Information Bill, but said it contains some loose ends that must be looked at.
The law that has been passed, we applaud it, and then we also appreciate the input and the work that has gone. But there were few loose ends that we thought should have been tightened, given our practice where people can, take advantage of some discretionary definitions to frustrate a process. So we were hoping that those loose ends should have been tightened up and then provided a more clarity in some of those things, so that we are not frustrated in terms of access to information. But for instance, clause 13 comes to mind, where we have the deliberative process that can be used to frustrate information, because once an institution says that whatever you are requesting for is in the deliberative process, then they can withhold the information. And what we had proposed was that even though you have the deliberative process, we could bring a closure to it to say that after the deliberative process, then you can provide the information to the requester of the information, but that was not accepted. This notwithstanding, we see that
persons living with the sickle cell disease in Ghana will now have their medication subsidized. The patients have for a while now been making a case for their care to be absorbed by the National Health Insurance Scheme because of the high cost of treatment, and government says it is working to get that done. Ahead of that, though, Swiss pharmaceutical company Novartis has signed a memorandum of understanding with Ghana to provide sickle cell patients with medication at a lower cost. Henry Kwesi Bedu has more in this report.
Every year, over 15,000 Ghanaian babies are born with sickle cell traits. According to President of the Sickle Cell Foundation of Ghana, Professor Kweku Ohenefrimpong, 50 to 80% of these babies die prematurely before the age of 5.
We've been screening for almost 24 years, so we have very good statistics. In Ghana, there are just over 15,000 babies are born every year with sickle cell disease. 1.8% of babies born in Ghana have sickle cell disease, and that comes to about 15,000 babies. We have about 900,000 babies born in total, but out of those, about 15,000 have sickle cell disease that need to be found, need to be placed on treatment so that they can survive. Where it's not done, the World Health Organization back in 2006 published information that in West Africa, between 9 and 16% of under 5 mortality is caused by sickle cell disease. But no African country can tell you that they know all those babies. Between 50 and 80% of babies born with sickle cell disease die before 5 years of age.
To reduce the worrying trend, the Ghana Health Service is partnering Swiss pharmaceutical company Novartis to improve the quality of life of people living with sickle cell disease. The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Anthony Nsiasare, announced that sickle cell patients will receive subsidized medication.
The MOU is also for setting up of centers of excellence, and as I said, in all regional capitals and also in some district hospitals for the management of sickle cell disease. The third one is training and research. We will train our health professionals to manage sickle cell disease very well to the highest, like where whatever is managed elsewhere. And in setting the center of excellence, we are going to do newborn screening. We want to touch every Ghanaian child who is born in this country. About 1 million to 1.2 million children will be tested. Once you test the child and he has a sickle cell disease, then you follow the child up. And also we are going to introduce hydroxyurea, which is even used in some parts of in Ghana, like those who can pay. But now we are going to make it affordable and accessible to every sickle cell patient.
Steve Mawenyega has 2 children living with sickle cell anemia from birth. He says availability of medication has prolonged the lives of his wards.
I would say it's helped alongside certain do's and don'ts, which we told them from the onset. And the frequency of crisis cut down tremendously. It was only at their tender age, I would say 6, 8.
Now, naming ceremonies are believed to usher in newborns into the world. This function is highly esteemed by the people, as it, among others, establishes the personality of the baby for the rest of his or her life. Outdooring in Ghana is Bojiemo, and families go great lengths to ensure this tradition is carried out on the 8th day after the birth of the child. Joining us is Beryl Ernestina Richard takes a look at the outdooring and naming ceremony and the peculiar features of this ceremony.
Here in Asafwa Chesaban's family house at Osukinkanwe, cries of a baby is heard after he's lifted to the skies and is shown to what the Gans call Chochobi. Senior linguist of Osu Traditional Council, Nina Atobi Oberima Insu, says careful scrutiny of a person's character is done by the baby's paternal family on who to outdoor and name the child. In this case, Edwin Lekwe Edwards is the man selected. In what is a typical traditional rite, the godfather raises the child 3 times to the skies and put the child on the bare floor, invoking the blessings of the gods and ancestors over the baby, while stepping over the baby 3 times. When the baby cries after cold water is sprinkled on him or her, it signals its acceptance to be part of the family. Paternal grand-uncle Lekwe Edwards dips a finger into corn wine and drops it on the tongue of the baby and tells the child, according to the Ga tradition, if a child dies before the 8th day, it is deemed as if the child never lived, because the Gas believe every living being must have a name. But these days, there seems to be a gradual shift from performing these rites on the 8th day. Here is senior linguist of Osu Traditional Council, Nina Atobi Oberima Nsu, expressing worry over that.
Tete senemi. Ni isanaka wuleji. Ni latte. Omoni yo bi ande nu ya ke moni nuku. Ake be ni woko kin allergy. Ni latte.
Over the years, there have been concerns about the gradual erosion of certain aspects of Ga culture, like the Kpojemo, due to the denigration and demonization of the traditional values that were once dear to the Ga people. Many have accused the church for the trend.
What I see is that some kind of ignorance, or rather, if you like, some kind of teachings in some of the churches that tend to bastardize everything traditional.
I have come to the Presbyterian Church of Ghana at the Braka Ascension Congregation, where Reverend Ludwig Niels Hesse is conducting a naming ceremony.
Domo, Obapa, this is water.
He disagrees with the assertion that the church is taking over the role of the family in this tradition.
The only thing that is not good is that they put the baby on the ground. Somebody will drum the baby and all that is. And when the weather is very cold, the baby can have infection. So we are not trying to shun away or throw away the culture, but we are bringing the culture into the church.
Here at La, Ni Nyanyo Abentia Way, Prophetess Linda Tego of Christ Miracle Salvation Ministry is here to perform the outdooring and naming rites for a baby from the Nyanyo family. She also disagrees that the church is taking over the role of the family. Father of the baby, Adla Abentiawe, Jonas Tetenyanyo, believes showing the baby toward the gas called Chochobi exposes the child to all kinds of evil spirits. However, Dr. Dote says it is dangerous for the church to arrogate to itself the authority of the family during such traditional practices.
Ojimo, or if you like, christening ceremony belongs to the family. And I wish that the church doesn't usurp it. Because the church is weaker if the family, if the clan is weak.
A name is a person's truest form of identity. It goes deeper and gives meaning to its lineage and ancestry. Without a name, nothing is. That's why for the Gas, a child is never sent out until the Kujimo ceremony, which makes him belong to a family and to a people. Beryl and Estina Richter's report for Joy News.
All right, thank you very much, Mapitso. That's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel Lai. You have a great weekend.